Are you for real or are you a pretender? Week 3 always shows us that. What's good, everybody? Welcome into the Early Edge and our weekly NFL Sunday mega preview. Oh, we are powered, as always, by the almighty SportsLine, the best value in all sports betting, and it's not even close. Our odds, every single one presented by our brand new partners. Absolutely love them. The king of all sports books, BetMGM. Now, week 3, 9 1 p.m. games. 1 at 4:05, 2 at 4:25. Then, don't forget, tonight, prime time early edge at 7:30 p.m. Me and the crew will break down Sunday Night Football, the Steelers and the Raiders, live from Las Vegas. But let's focus on the here and the now. Let's bring in the stars of the show. You know them. You love him. My man Proppy is here. The counselor is here. And oh my goodness. Oh, all I saw yesterday was a 0 next to this man's name, which means he gets the 15 seconds to start the show. AB, welcome to your undefeated Sunday, sir.
Hey, Coach. Thank you, man. You know what, everybody? Welcome to the Early Edge crew. Welcome. Thank you to you guys. It's good to be on with you. And I tell you, look, I was listening to a band called Linkin Park all weekend, and they had a song called Somewhere I Belong. And today, across the NFL, you're going to find teams starting to find where they belong because now, week 3 on, your offensive coordinator starts to feel himself a little bit. The playbook gets a little expanded. They start really showing who they are. So for some teams, that's going to be good. You'll see on my picks, a lot of teams, it's going to be bad. So we're going to see here today.
And that's how you take care of 15 seconds to start the Early Edge. Gentlemen, if you don't mind, you ready to get started?
Let's go.
Let's do this thing. Let's do this thing. All right, game number 1. And I can't even believe that this line still exists. I truly can't. What am I missing? Titans at the Browns, Cleveland -3.5, total 38. And this is always evolving. So if you see a number that's different than what I say, we're changing them in real time, according to BetMGM. Now, Uncle Dave from the Prop Show, he's on Dustin Hopkins over 1.5 field goals in this game. And AB, you have a best bet, so let's start with you.
Yes, sir. I tell you, we do have a best bet. And look, it's not going to be good. So let's go ahead and get this BetMGM logo up because that is good, and we want to see that. But we are going to go Ryan Tannehill over half an interception at -135. Look, he's going up against a Browns defense that, well, quite frankly, looked awful against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I expect them to bounce back strong today. It's probably going to be somewhat of a lower-scoring game. You're going to see both teams try to run the football, but really not be able to run the football because their defenses can stop it. The Browns are going to load the box, force Ryan Tannehill to put it in the air. And unfortunately, my man, because Tannehill, love him, but the no-fly zone's open, buddy. Sorry about that.
Damn it. Don't tell me that. They're my best bet. They're my lock of the week.
Oh, they can win the game, but Tannehill's throwing a pick. Like, that's going to happen.
I'll take that. By the way, in the chat, I just got to read this because it makes me feel good. Best show, brand, and crew in the business. I have receipts to prove it. C Breezy 915. Thank you, C Breezy. Now, Proppy, let me come to you because when you look at this game and all of the injuries, no Nick Chubb, and now Kareem Hunt comes in, literally walks out of his front door, tries out on Monday, and he's in the lineup today. I don't feel good about the Browns. What's the lab telling you?
I don't feel good about either of these teams, Coach. I think this is going to be a very low-scoring affair. If you read my weekly long shots article, you will see a pick from this game featured in there. But, yeah, I think these are both two very good defenses, two offenses that are really struggling, particularly Cleveland's side of things. I just do not have a lot of confidence in Deshaun Watson. Obviously, you mentioned no Nick Chubb, going to be the Jerome Ford show today, but he's facing an incredibly stout Tennessee front seven, a Tennessee that's also a pass funnel. Because of this elite front seven, teams are opting to throw heavily against Tennessee. When we've seen Deshaun Watson try and take the game into his own hands, he is turnover prone. He is turnover prone. He is erratic. He has more turnovers than touchdowns this season. So I think there's a lot of fades in this spot across the board. I think it's going to be very low scoring.
Oh, Fezzi agrees with you. Love the under in the Titans-Browns game, he says. So, Counselor, I'm coming to you. Do you agree with Proppy?
Oh, I mean, I do. And I agree with Fezzi in terms of the under, too. Listen, this opened at 41. You've sort of lost the good number, but I still think the under of 38 comes in. I think both of these offenses are going to be conservative. I have an official play that I put on the SportsLine app of the Titans plus 3.5 here, Coach. So I mostly agree with you. this is one of those things where we know Tennessee can shut down the run. And oh, by the way, Nick Chubb's not there. And so it really is going to be Deshaun Watson. I just don't think Tennessee is intimidated by Deshaun Watson in any way, shape, or form. The problem on the other side is this Cleveland defense is likely to stymie the Tennessee Titans. But at the end of the day, they still have Derrick Henry. Tajay Spears might get some looks, some sort of gadget type plays. I think the 3.5 is way too much. I mean, this should be 2.5 in my opinion.
I agree. I mean, this is why you watch games, because if you watch the Browns last week, I don't know how you could play them ever, the way they're playing right now. I really, really don't. By the way, hit that like button for me. I tell you all the time, it helps the show grow. You guys come here. We're the #1 show in America, but yet we get no likes because we made it too easy for you. That's what we have done. We've made it too easy. All right, Falcons and the Lions, game number 2. Now, this is an interesting one. There's 3 teams in the NFC South that are 2-0. Atlanta is one of them. Detroit looked great Thursday night, opening night, but then they laid an egg in overtime, losing to Seattle last week. So, Proppy, let me come to you, because there is a guy that runs the football for the Falcons that has been dynamic. In fact, last week we hit a 30-1 play, and we're going right back to the well again today. Talk to me.
Yeah, we're talking about Bijan Robinson, over 67.5 rushing yards. I love this electric rookie. There's going to be 2 electric rookies in this game. The Jahmyr Gibbs for the Detroit Lions, who we've unfortunately had some misses on, and then obviously the aforementioned Bijan Robinson. But he is the focal point, the centerpiece of this Atlanta Falcons offense. This team runs the ball as much as any team in the NFL. Week 1, he was out-carried by Tyler Algier. That was not the case last week. I expect week 1 to ultimately be an outlier. I think this game is going to feature a lot of scoring, a lot of yards between the 20s, and 2 offenses that can move the football on a fast track in a dome. I love a lot of spots in this game. I also really like Jahmyr Gibbs as well. I like players all over the place, Kyle Pitts, et cetera, et cetera. So this is one of my favorite games of the week, guys.
Counselor, I agree with Proppy. I think the only side you can play here, or the only bet in my mind, is the total, because of how these 2 teams have looked in the first 2 weeks. What say you?
Well, I'm leaning, and I almost made this an official play. So I've bet on the Falcons the first 2 weeks, and of course they covered both times. I will say this: last week I had them on the money line on the SportsLine app. So if you took the spread there, you might not have gotten the cover. But the long and short of it is, I like the Falcons in this game, especially when you consider that Detroit, it really has a lot of injuries, actually on both sides of the ball, but particularly on defense. So I think Atlanta's running game is really dynamic. I love this Bijan Robinson prop from Proppy. And for the record, I think his total yardage, if you want to add rushing and receiving, which I believe is in that 96.5 range, I like that too. I mean, in DFS, I've got Bijan Robinson in so many lineups. I've peppered Jahmyr Gibbs in so many lineups. This will be a back and forth for sure. The question becomes, when it comes to the total, how much ball control is Atlanta allowed to play? And does that impact the over? Is Amon-Ra St. Brown fully healthy? Those types of questions kind of seep into the total conversation. But if I'm going to take anything here from a side or total standpoint, it's going to be the Falcons +3.
I'm glad you brought up Amon-Ra St. Brown. We showed a graphic Friday. I was hosting SportsLine at 6 o'clock, and there were so many big-name players, AB, that were questionable or already out. Injuries are starting to become an issue early in this NFL season. What do you think?
Yeah, they are, Coach. They are starting to become a problem, and especially for star players, because look at these teams. Okay, this is a perfect example of this game right here, all right? The Falcons and the Lions, there's really not too terribly much different in regards to them. They're kind of the same team, at least by approach, right? So when you look and have one player that makes up, a somewhat large percentage of their offense, dude, they could set them back so much. So that's why, like I say, I mirror what Sia said, what Prop said. I don't have a strong take on this game, to be honest with you. I just can't not feel it. I just cannot feel it. So when we do that, Coach, we just step back and say, you know what? Somebody else is feeling it. All you, and I'll tell you all day long.
Real quick, Proppy, the number for Gibbs rushing is 50.5. Would you take that?
Because of his 3-down skill set, I prefer his combination line. I also really like Bijan's combination line, as Sia mentioned as well. He has the biggest target share of any player in Atlanta's offense, despite being a running back. But both these guys have a 3-down skill set. Both these guys are excellent receiving running backs out of the backfield. I really like approaching it that way.
I mean, I'm all in my feels right now. I'm like having a flashback to the prop show on Friday with Counselor and Proppy. Oh, it makes me feel good. Now,
Coach,
yes,
real quick. Speaking of props, Emmanuel in the chat, he gave out a stat that it's actually correct. He says Sia hasn't hit a prop yet. By the way, I've made 2 all season. Okay, so that's my absence on the prop show. So yeah, you're right. I'm 0%. I'm 0 for 2. Oh, by the way, Emmanuel, 8-1 against the spread. Just a little FYI for you. So yeah, I'll make some more. I'll pepper in some more props. But yeah, 0-2. It's not exactly a disaster quite yet. Appreciate you.
You are a savage. You are an absolute
Appreciate you.
savage.
Break, bro.
Appreciate you. Do not let the nice guy fool you. Trust me, the man's a savage. All right. Now, speaking of the NFC South, and shockingly, 3 of these teams are 2-0. The Saints are one of them. And, Counselor, we're going to start with you. Now, they go on the road today to another team that honestly should be 2-0. They should be 2-0. Green Bay laid out the Bears and then lose by 1 last week. So, they're favored by 1 this week. Uncle Dave is on Michael Thomas, longest reception under 19.5 yards, -125. I played Green Bay already. Tell me I'm wrong, Counselor.
Well, here's the thing. I have an official play on Green Bay that I put in Wednesday, and it's Green Bay money line. It's on the SportsLine app. It's at -118. That's shifting around a little bit because now we've come to learn that Aaron Jones and Christian Watson and Bakhtiari are going to be inactive. Listen, I expected 2 of those 3 to be inactive, but I actually thought Aaron Jones was going to play based on his limited practice on Wednesday. I actually saw film of him running around. He looked like he was going to be a full go. So listen, I have this as an official play. If you haven't bet it yet, I'll just be perfectly frank with you. Now that Aaron Jones is out, it's one that I would probably back off of. I still think the Green Bay Packers can win it. But again, sort of these injuries that you just mentioned, Coach, sometimes we make predictions based on practice reports and sometimes they don't come true. So right now I have the Packers money line, not super in love with it relative to a few days ago.
I'm sticking with it. I feel and it's not so much about the Packers as it is the fact that the Saints just didn't look good last week. Yeah. I just don't like how Derek Carr is throwing the ball around. No-fly zone seems to be the entire field, AB. So when we look at this one, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, Sia nailed it right there in regards to Aaron Jones. All right, I don't have a super strong take on this game because with him being out, it is tough. But still, I agree with you. Like, what am I supposed to buy in on this Saints team, right? Like, Derek Carr is supposed to look great. The Panthers kind of had their business with him, right? And the Saints defense, what did they do? Bryce Young looked good. I mean, I'm with you, man. Like, I can't buy into the Saints just yet. The Packers keep winning. Like, all I know is that no matter who plays quarterback, doesn't matter who plays quarterback. If that G is on the side of the helmet, the Packers just show up and win games, man. So, yeah, I'm buying them until I'm not.
What is the lab telling you, Proppy?
Interesting matchup here. Obviously, no Christian Watson, no Aaron Jones for Green Bay. I know the Packers have been pretty efficient without those 2 guys in the lineup, but I do think eventually it's going to hurt not having a number 1 option in your passing game, not having their 1A running back in Aaron Jones. I think the Saints team is pretty good. Granted, they haven't gotten off to the best start. They haven't scored a lot of touchdowns. They haven't won convincingly, but they've won, and they're acclimating to a new quarterback. I have some questions regarding the ground game today for them. Jamal Williams on injured reserve. Alvin Kamara suspended until week 3. It's going to be Kendre Miller making his season debut in a combination of Tony Jones. But they've got Chris Olave, they've got Rashid Shaheed, and they've got Michael Thomas. It's a pretty good trio of wide receivers. I think the Saints offense is the best unit of the 4 in this game. So I have a slight lean towards the Saints here. I like Olave to have a big game personally.
Counselor, go.
Just real quick, as the chat's pointing out, and I forgot to point this out, but everybody knows at this point, Jair Alexander also ruled inactive. So certainly helps the Shaheed, Derek Carr, Chris Olave conversation.
AB, go.
Yeah, you start to notice more Taysom Hill in the Saints offense, and I think that's going to continue. Just be careful. He might steal red zone opportunities, and he's going to steal a touchdown here at some point. So just be careful on that.
Just like heel Sia will steal your heart. Everybody in the chat, I love heel Sia. That's the world I've lived in for 20 years, Sia. Heel coach. Maybe we're kindred spirits. You never know. You never know. All right, this next game has plays all over the board. This next game, many people believe will be a showcase. First home game for the Dolphins of them being the best team currently in the entire AFC. Yes, I said it. So, Dolphins laying 6. It's under a touchdown important that it's there. 47.5 is the total. We have picks all over the board. EC is on Tyreek Hill over 84.5. The reason I give you that, because now it's over 90, is to tell you to watch our shows live. You got to watch our shows, especially our prop show. Samaje P. right over 16.5. That number still exists. Tyreek Hill over 6.5 catches from the Maestro. That now is 7 in most places, but the Maestro is also on the Broncos plus the 7, and RJ is on the Dolphins minus. We had a nice little discussion on that on Tuesday. So as you can see, all of our cappers have different takes on this game. It happens. It's the business. But AB, I'm coming to you first, big boy, because I'm seeing that you think the ball's going to be flying and not necessarily to the same colored jerseys. Start us off.
Yes, sir. Look, you said everybody has different plays on this game. I have 3 plays on this game, and they all correlate and are on the same thing, because I don't know if anybody's noticed, but if you go and look at the weather for this game in Miami, on weather.com, AccuWeather, whatever, they're literally making jokes about you're going to need 2 raincoats for this game. It's going to be a downpour at times. It's going to be ugly. There are going to be just problems on the field for both teams. So first, we're playing the under 48. Next, we're playing the no-fly zone on both Russell Wilson and Tua Tagovailoa. You look at the Dolphins. Look, yeah, no Jalen. He's not out there, right? They have issues on the offense in regards to injuries. The Broncos, offenses look good. However, going across the country, I think they're going to be a little too cocky in this game, and they're going to get, a little aggressive, put the ball in the air, and I don't think that it's going to work too well at all. So take the under, take both quarterbacks to throw an interception. I'm not saying it's going to storm the entire game, but, buddy, it's one of those South Florida rainstorms that lasts for a while. See ya. He could talk about them. Them things last, man, and they just gonna be a tough one out there.
Counselor,
just real quick, yeah. And then I moved to DC like 3 weeks ago, and I got some sort of cyclone hurricane thing happening in the Northeast. So it's tracking me, not South Florida necessarily.
Well, what do you think about this game? If you want to go see it, talk to me, because there's a lot of things to unpack here. I'm just going straight Dolphins, period. It's my lock of the week.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm going to. I think it's really interesting that this line clicked down to 5.5 earlier today. It's back up to 6. Certainly the weather is a concern, but I just listen, the Russell Wilson experience, I'm just not seeing really any glimmer of hope. Yes, he torched Washington in the first half last week with Marvin Mims in particular, but that was kind of more blown coverage than anything else. I just think this Miami offense, whether it's raining or not, is so dynamic that they're just going to be able to take advantage of the Denver defense. So at the end of the day, I think this could be a 10-14-point win for the Dolphins.
And how about the crew always taking care of us? Jay in the chat says, and I always take you guys at face value, so that's what it is. I'm in Miami right now. There are no clouds in the sky. Clear skies, he says. So thank you, Jay, for that. Proppy, let me come to you, because I was leaning towards playing Tua's passing yards if the weather was good today. What are your thoughts on that?
I think this game's going to be a shootout, personally. I think the Broncos defense, one of the worst defenses in the NFL through 2 weeks. That's pretty unexpected. 30th in EPA allowed per dropback. Only the Chargers' pass defense have given up more explosive plays. So I think this sets up beautifully for Tua, Miami's passing game. Tyreek Hill. I'm also on Tyreek, as well as EC. Love him in this spot. Also on Samaje P. Ryan. The reason being, Russell Wilson targets running backs more than any quarterback in the NFL. P. Ryan has a large target share in that offense, and Russell's just not throwing the ball down the field. He's taking what's in front of him and what's given to him, and that involves a lot of running backs being peppered with targets. But I think this is a matchup where both offenses can have success. I think there's going to be a ton of yards in this game. Denver might struggle a little bit in the red zone, but I think this is a great game for props, a great game for overs, especially if the weather holds up.
I am shocked at the Tua number right now, around 261, 262. I thought, and I'm sure that's weather related because they have to predict that. But man, if the weather's nice, that's a layup for Tua at 261. Proppy, thank you very much. Now, Proppy, I'm coming right back to you because we're going to go to Minnesota. 2 desperate 0-2 teams. 2 teams that really, if they don't win today, you don't see 0-3 teams make it to the playoffs. It just doesn't happen. So the Chargers on the road laying 1. The Vikings, the total is 54. PropStarz, there is a youngster that played at a couple of different colleges, but all I know is he has star written all over him. Who am I talking about?
He was a Biletnikoff winner, one of the most productive wide receivers in college football history. That's Jordan Addison. I love his chances today to go over 51.5 receiving yards. This Chargers defense through 2 weeks is historically bad, especially through the secondary. We've seen this Minnesota offense. They just want to throw the ball. They don't care about running. They're going to be one of the highest weighted teams towards the pass, one of the highest volume passing offenses so far. I think that trend's going to continue this year. Jordan Addison is their deep threat. He really benefits from the amount of coverage that Justin Jefferson on the other side of him commands. Justin Jefferson is one of the most double-teamed players in the NFL. That leaves Addison in a lot of advantageous one-on-one matchups. Addison has the deepest average depth of target of any wide receiver on the Vikings, and he's also receiving targets at a pretty high rate. His role is only growing in this Minnesota offense. So this is he's facing a defense that's given up more explosive plays through 2 weeks by a significant margin. So Addison has absolutely massive upside today. I like him over 50 yards. He could get there in one catch, honestly, but I really like his alt lines over 100, over 110, over 125. He has potential for a huge game if he gets behind the defense for a couple of plays, and Kirk can put it on him today. So absolutely love Addison. Love this game as well. I'm trying to get as many cheap pieces as I possibly can all over the place because I think this is just going to feature a ton of offense, a ton of yards, especially between the 20s.
All right, real quick, you mentioned Justin Jefferson. You love to ladder Addison. So JJ is over 100, 101.5 currently, and 7.5. Would you take either one of those?
I would never fade him because of this matchup and how good Justin Jefferson is, the best technician in the NFL right now, but I'm just not comfortable playing something in the triple digits. So to me, it's a stay away. I'd rather look elsewhere on the offense.
Yeah, it kind of feels that way. And Counselor, really Cooper Kupp and Justin Jefferson are the only two guys, maybe Tyreek a little bit too, that have gone over 100 more than just a one-off. But today, RJ White, the stoic one, he's on Kirk Cousins over 292.5 with the passing yards. Do you also feel like this could be a shootout?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, in DFS, I have a lot of Kirk Cousins double stacked, which means with two pass catchers. That might be Addison and Jefferson. It might be Osborne and Addison, you name it, Hawkinson. They're all in the conversation. The reason I even bring that up is because what I'm expecting is Kirk Cousins to throw it all over the yard. And for the record, from a DFS standpoint, if you hit 300 yards, you get a bonus. You get a bonus on DraftKings, which of course can help your score. So if I'm playing Cousins, I'm expecting that bonus, which means I'm expecting 300 yards or more. I like the play.
Zach said Chargers were favored for about half an hour ago, earlier today. I can't even read. Then it shifted back to the Vikings, which tells us, AB, that even the sports books and the market doesn't know which way to go. What about you?
Yep. Yeah, no, I really don't. Look, I think that the smartest thing to do is rewind 2 minutes and just listen to props. I honestly, I think that he nailed this game. I think he absolutely drilled it in regards to what you're going to see. The Chargers, their offense is going to go. The Vikings, their offense is going to go. This game really is going to come down to, does Kirk Cousins turn the ball over or not? The Chargers really don't turn it over all that much. They don't necessarily, go for, touchdown drives every single time, but they will put up points, right? They just don't turn it over all that much. They'll punt the football at times. But the Vikings, if they turn the ball over, especially, in really tough spots for their defense, that's where they get into trouble.
Boom. Go ahead, Proppy.
Yeah, just to piggyback on what AB said, as far as the sides in this game, obviously I'm betting props primarily, but I really think it'll just come down to whoever has the ball last in a game like this, with a total like this, with two offenses like this, with two defenses who can't stop anyone. So that's what I'd be trying to time, is who has the ball last. I think that's who's ultimately going to come ahead.
I agree with you. You're telling me that both teams won't score 27 today? Yes, they will. Absolutely, they will. In a dome, so the weather does not matter. By the way, Lydia, she says, hey, guys, I was wondering if you could say happy 5th birthday to Sebastian, my grandson. He's watching the early edge with me with his Packers gear on. If that's not a sign that we should play the Packers today, I don't know what is. Sebastian, what's good from the early edge? Anybody else want to say what up?
Yeah, Sebastian, happy birthday.
Let's go.
Sebastian, great name. Happy birthday, dude. Go Packers, buddy.
Yeah.
Hey, Seabass, if you don't mind suiting up, Aaron Jones is out and A.J. Dillon might need a backup. I know they called up Patrick Taylor, but there's probably a third spot there for you. Get a helmet.
Look at the chat. Already taking care of him. Happy birthday, Sebastian. You guys are the absolute very best. You guys really are. Do you know who else is absolutely the very best? The king of all sports books, BetMGM. And I'm going to tell you right here, right now, that new BetMGM customers can sign up today and get $200 in bonus bets. Just place your first wager of at least $10, and you will receive $200 instantly in bonus bets, regardless of your wager's outcome, with bonus code EDGE200. And this is the best day to do it because you got all these NFL games to play and a very little time to do it. So many of you, hundreds, have already signed up. So thank you for that. And as I told you a couple of days ago, we're working on stuff for existing customers. It's a process, but we will get there. We will get there. All right, this next game, I almost feel like I want to skip it. I'm certainly not going to watch it. And, Counselor, let's start with you. We have one pick from the crew, and that's the stoic one, R.J. White. Jets plus the 3 when it was 3. It's now 2.5. Patriots on the road favored. Total, yuck, 35. What are we talking about here? What are you talking about, Counselor?
Well, I'm not talking about much. I don't want to take too much time here. If anything, I would probably play the Patriots because I just think they're going to be able to scheme against Zach Wilson a lot easier than that vaunted Jets defense is going to against Mac Jones. This one's a really tough one. I'd lean on Ramondre Stevenson, some Bourne, some Parker. I think the Patriots end up getting it done.
Probably anything for you on this game?
Not a ton, Coach. If I had to go somewhere, I like Sia's looks, as he mentioned. As far as the Jets are concerned, Breece Hall was very ticked off with that Week 2 performance. He expects to get the ball a lot more in this game. When he's motivated and fired up, he's as good as any running back in football. I know he's still coming back from the injury, but I expect a healthy dose of Breece Hall. He's someone I would look at.
AB, talk to me.
Yeah, look, I feel the same. I don't have a ton on it because this game is just not going to be that exciting. That being said, the Patriots are a first down team. If they do not get 4 yards on first down, I'm telling you, their offense will be stuck in the mud. They get into trouble. So pay attention. If you're a live bettor, watch the Patriots specifically on first down. If they are getting the ball 4 yards or more, I don't care what defense you're playing against. Like, they could be in trouble, right? But if the Patriots aren't doing that, ooh, it stops. It stops in a hurry, man.
I have no desire to watch 1 second of this game whatsoever. By the way, Roy, I'm sure you didn't mean it this way, but if you're going to type something in the chat, make it correct. Roy says, Pack not overcoming those injuries. Go Lions.
Hey, you know what? There you go.
Maybe he's a Lions fan.
That's got to be it. Because the Lions are playing the Falcons. The Packers are playing the Saints.
But I think all Lions fans hate the Packers, right?
I think so. So I'm glad you got his back, Proppy. I'm glad you have his back. By the way, we just crossed the bottom of the hour. It's 12:30 in the East, 9:30 out here in the West where me and Proppy are sitting. So we have less than 30 minutes until the 1 o'clock games kick off, 9 of them. And we have 2 more to get to, and then we get the late games. This one, I'm actually kind of intrigued, to be honest with you. Texans and the Jags. This one's been hovering with that hook. Whenever you see 7.5, isn't that a big difference than 7 or 6.5? Such a huge difference. Total 43.5. Uncle Dave is on Nico Collins over 4.5 catches. We also have Captains of SportsLine that are on his yardage as well. RJ's on the Jags when it was 7.5, which it still is. So, Counsel, let's start with you. Anything on the side here? Because I don't like that hook.
Yeah, I don't like the hook here. I think I'm staying away from the side. I would lean to the over here. There's a lot of injuries, particularly on the Texans side. I think if we're going to see a good game from Trevor Lawrence, it actually might be this week. I think Christian Kirk is in a nice matchup. Obviously, Ridley is going to get a lot of targets. I think Etienne's going to be very good as well. So I'm really surprised that this total is only, 43.5. I like the over here.
I kind of do too. Taylor likes AB. He says AB killed it yesterday. I don't know. 5-0. Is that good? I don't know. AB, talk to me on this game.
Yeah. Look, I think C is correct, man. Like, if there's ever a time for the Jaguars to get this, kind of struggling offense right, it's today. A lot of injuries on the Houston side. That being said, look, I agree with C on this too. The Houston offense is not that bad. Like, they put up yardage, man. Like, they can go down the field, and the Jaguars will give up yards and chunk plays too. So, if anything, I would look in the over here.
See, I think the Jags want to bust out today after being held to 9 points last week by the Chiefs. So that's what we say all the time. Look at the information, use it for the next week. When you only score 9, you want to get that going the next week. Proppy, I think you are correct. My boy Roy says Pack and Lions play Thursday. I'm just getting ready, Coach. Hey, we can appreciate that. We can appreciate that. Probably, what about this game for you?
Yeah, interesting matchup. The Jags defense actually ranks really highly, particularly in run defense. However, I think they're a bit of a paper tiger. I don't think that those numbers are going to sustain throughout the season. The Texans offense has really just been out of games pretty much in the first, and by the end of the first half, they've had 20-point deficits in both games. As a result, they've abandoned the run. We've seen CJ Stroud air the ball out a lot, but it really has been a lot of garbage time success. So I'm interested to see if the Texans can actually be competitive in this game. Had high expectations coming into the season. We know D'Amico Ryans seems like a good coach, has the defense playing a little bit better. But yeah, I think the Jags offense here should score a lot. I like the Jags team total. I believe it's 27 points, if I'm not mistaken. I think they're going to have a lot of success both through the air and on the ground.
Okay. I like that a lot. Go, AB.
We just saw Goose open a door on Goose's own. That is a great sign for today. A great sign.
I love Goose. I love Goose.
Goose is going nuts right now, by the way. He just crashed into my laptop as well.
It's NFL Sunday. Goose is fired up.
That means he likes the Jags today. By the way, 2 cappers at SportsLine are on Trevor Lawrence and his rushing total, which is around 14.5. And a shootout usually leads to some rushing from the quarterback, so I like that too. By the way, Ravis says, what time is this show done? I need to make tickets before 1. We go to about 3:30 Eastern time, Ravis, so just go as you want, but we'll be here for a couple more hours, so don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. Now, I apologize. I said there were only 2. Now there are only 2. And this one, I got to start with my man, the counselor. He is sitting in the Metro as we speak. You've got a 2-0 team. You're undefeated. You went to Denver last week, and you won a shootout. And what do you get for your efforts? The Buffalo Bills. And Josh Allen, who laid it on the Raiders 38-10 last week. EC is on Stephon Diggs, over 69.5 receiving yards. McKenzie, Brian Robinson, over 54.5 rush yards, minus 115. Counselor, what about you?
Yeah, this one's interesting because the line, I believe, opened at 6.5. If you saw us on social, I liked Washington there at 6.5. It's all the way down to 5.5 now, which I think is really interesting. Might tick back up to 6 before kickoff, but I think I like the Commanders here. Listen, obviously the Commanders are overvalued. They're not like a real 2-0 team. And I think the Bills are undervalued to some degree. I think they're just coming into form, but this is still a high number. It's still 5.5. It's still 6 in some places. I think that might be too much. The one thing I like, if Howell doesn't turn the ball over in this Eric Bieniemy offense, he looks pretty dynamic. Brian Robinson is another guy that looks pretty dynamic, not just in the rushing game, but in the passing game as well. I think if Howell doesn't turn it over, this is going to be a very close game for 4 quarters. And by the way, this defense will get after Josh Allen. Make no mistake about that.
I think that this is a transition period that we have to get through. And it's very hard, Proppy, when this happens to an NFL team, because we don't want to do it. We don't want to say, oh, the Commanders are a good team. Maybe they are. Today's going to be a litmus test. What say you?
Yeah, I've been very impressed with the Commanders as you've been watching throughout the season. I've been on the Sam Howell bandwagon. Took a little, got off to a rocky start there week 1, but certainly looked the part with that impressive comeback in Denver at Mile High last week. But tough spot against the Bills. Weather is supposed to be an issue here. Haven't looked at the latest reports. I was waiting to see how the weather was going to shake out prior to putting picks out in this specific game. But I like where he sees at with Stephon Diggs. Has a massive target share in that offense, getting a discount because he had a quiet week too. So that's a good look. As far as the Commanders are concerned, I like Terry McLaurin in this spot at 51.5 yards. This Bills defense, I think, is a bit overrated, not as good as they have been in previous years. We've seen number 1 receivers have success against them early in the season as well. So those are 2 spots that I have my eyes on.
AB, so much to chew on in this game. Personally, I think the Bills roll today. I think they understand that all eyes are on this game because of who they are playing. What about you?
Yeah, speaking of chewing, look, I'll be real quick. I think that the Commanders' front 4 is going to chew on the Bills' offensive line. Josh Allen's going to be under pressure. I assure you of that. This could be a good game to take Josh Allen rushing props because he's going to take off. He's going to have to be honest with you, and he's going to have to get the ball out of his hands quickly. Sia's not kidding around. This Washington front 4 is disgusting. Like Josh Allen's going to be under pressure. So yeah, man, rushing yards for him could be good.
Yeah, Anderson just asked in the chat, the rushing total for Josh Allen is 30.5. You feel comfortable with that?
Oh yeah.
Yes?
Yep.
Okay. I have to get that one in. Josh Allen rushing. All right. We've got 4 games left. 1 at 1 o'clock, and then we're getting the hell out of Dodge. I was just kidding, Rabbit. Colts and the Ravens. And you guys know I'm huge on TikTok. And the first 2 weeks, my TikTok lock of the week has been the Ravens. And I cashed easy. I didn't make it my TikTok lock of the week, but I still believe that they're going to get it done. I bought it down to 6.5. I bought the point. EC's on Lamar Jackson, over 1.5 passing touchdowns. That is plus money. So, Proppy, do you like Lamar Jackson today?
I do like Lamar Jackson today. I think Lamar Jackson looked excellent in week 2. Didn't really need to do a whole lot in week 1 against the Houston Texans. Not sure how much he's going to have to do week 3, but the Ravens are actually pretty banged up as well. We know the Colts are banged up. Obviously, no Anthony Richardson in this game. It's going to be Minshew Mania. But yeah, I like Lamar Jackson. I think he's going to spread it around. I'm very impressed and bullish on the rookie, Zay Flowers. He has been excellent. Mark Andrews is fully healthy. Those guys should both be the engines of this new look Ravens passing attack under Munkin, who's done a good job opening this offense up. They're throwing the ball quite a bit. I've been impressed with Lamar as a passer just as much as I have been as a runner. As far as the Colts offense is concerned, it's going to be the Zach Moss show. He handled every single running back backfield touch last week. Tough matchup, but again, this Ravens defense is banged up. I think this game actually has some potential to be somewhat competitive. So those are some spots I have my eyes on.
I don't think I've ever seen, guys, a head coach like John Harbaugh last week rave about their quarterback like he raved about Lamar Jackson and his competitive spirit and how he's leading this football team. When Lamar Jackson, Sia, is in a good headspace, he's got his money now, it really feels like the Ravens are starting to take off. How do you feel about them?
Yeah, and he's starting to find his receivers. Like, I mean, we know Odell's out, but Nelson Aguilar was great last week. You know, Zay Flowers is great. Mark Andrews is healthy. I like this game for the Ravens. I actually expect them to win by double digits here. I think Gardner Minshew is an okay quarterback, but I don't think the tools around him are the same tools that he had when he was an okay quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they're catching the Ravens in a really bad spot, if you will, because I think the Ravens are starting to really play well. They're at home. They get a Colts defense or offense that's not very intimidating. I like the Ravens to roll here.
Oh, that is music to these beautiful ears. AB, what about you?
Yeah. Look, I think that if Anthony Richardson were playing in this game, this would be a super competitive game. He has started well. I got to give him credit. I don't think that Minshew is going to do half of what Richardson has done. I still think it's going to be like somewhat a competitive game. I agree with both the dudes right here, but yeah, man, like without Anthony Richardson, the Ravens probably have a little bit more success.
All right. Buck 105 says, big thanks to the Early Edge crew for doing this show every single week. Thank you, Buck 105. We can't do it without all of you guys. But as you know, we're way more than just the Early Edge. We're everything that is SportsLine. And we want everybody to be a part of what we're doing. We don't gouge you for thousands of dollars, even hundreds of dollars. No. And in fact, I'm going to do you a solid right here, right now. I'm going to give you 60% off your first quarterly plan. Use a promo code Coach. Then after that, we really get you $10 a month, and you get all the articles, you get all the simulations, you get everything for one very low price. We believe in a big universe, not gouging the universe. By the way, gentlemen, did you guys feel that? Did you feel? I feel like Proppy felt it. Guess who's in the chat? Guess who just showed up in the chat? His running mate for 2024 buckets is here. Proppy, did you call him?
I didn't call him. He's just known to appear out of thin air sometimes. They call him Mr. Magic. He's got all sorts of nicknames. So, yeah, just happy to see him, of course. I feel like we're all that much better just when Bucket shows up. So, he's blessed us with his presence.
Don't give me that ammunition, Proppy. Mr. Magic? I'm going to use that all the time now. Mr. Magic? All right.
Mr. Magic.
Well, I'll tell you what, Geno Smith has been magic at times. He was magic last week, winning in overtime, 37-31. But now they come back home. And I honestly, guys, I cannot believe this number exists. I really cannot believe it. I would load everything up that I have on the Seahawks today. 4.5 is the total. 42 is the side. 42.5 is the total. This game at 405, not 425. We've got a lot of picks on this one. Dave has Adam Thielen over 3.5 catches. Also, Geno Smith under 32.5 passing attempts. The reason for that is that he believes they'll have a big lead. He won't have to throw in the second half. Maestro's on the Seahawks when it was 5.5. Jonathan Mingo over 36.5 receiving yards. Hopefully you got your paper and your pencil. RJ's on the Panthers team total over 17.5. And Berg Bets is on the Panthers plus the 5. Berg Bets, call me.
Hey, Coach.
We can play.
Hey, Coach, I'm right here right now, and I've got my phone. I can give you a call, actually, because I like the Panthers at plus 5. So if AB wants to hit the music, we and you can dance tonight.
Oh, AB, hit the music.
It's gonna be a showdown.
Oh, you're putting your money behind Andy Dalton.
I have a lot more confidence in Andy Dalton than I do what I've seen from Bryce Young. 0-2. I think their backs are against the wall. I've seen Seattle play down to their level of competition. I think 5 points is a lot personally, and I think Andy Dalton is going to surprise some people today, as crazy as that sounds.
You know what's going to surprise me? When I'm just watching the games, all of a sudden I hear a ding. You guys know that ding. You know that ding. Counselor, talk to me.
Well, I do agree with Proppy to the extent that Andy Dalton is a net upgrade, at least at this point in Bryce Young's career. It does seem like a lot of points, and the line has gone down towards the Panthers. Obviously, some money's coming in on the Panthers, as this line was a point and a half richer a few days ago. It's a stay away for me. If I had to take something, I'd probably be on Proppy's side of it because I do think Andy Dalton's a decent backup quarterback, but it's definitely a stay away for me.
Classic Buckets. He says, I didn't even hear what the showdown was, but I'm backing Proppy. Dead to me, Buckets. Dead to me. AB, get us back on track.
Yep. I want Andy Dalton for an interception. Now, I don't think, look, I'm not taking one side or the other because this game could be weird, man, especially with Pete Carroll involved. Running the football could be an odd game, but Andy Dalton's going to put one up in the air.
You think a 35-10 game is weird? I don't think that's weird at all. I don't think that's weird.
I need Kenneth Walker in fantasy, so, I mean, there we go.
All right, we've got 2 more games to get to, and the spreads are large, and I mean large. So the Chiefs are back home. They're welcoming the Fighting Justin Fields. It's been a long week for Justin Fields. Threw his coaches under the bus. Then he came back out the same day, basically did it again, didn't even realize that he did it. The Chiefs, hard-fought win last week on the road in Jacksonville. They're 1-1. They're laying 12.5. The total is 48. Uncle Dave is on Patrick Mahomes under 34.5 passing attempts for the same reason that he's on Geno Smith. So, Proppy, let me come back to you. The way that Patrick Mahomes spreads the ball around now, it's very hard to play props that aren't named Travis Kelce. Talk to me.
It is indeed. Yeah, he certainly hasn't found a guy who's going to step up to be that 1B to Travis Kelce's 1A in this offense. I still have high expectations for Rashee Rice, the rookie wide receiver out of SMU. I think his role and his snap share is going to continue to grow as the season progresses. I think he'll eventually settle in sort of as that secondary guy for Mahomes. But yeah, he's spreading the ball all over the field. I like this spot for Travis Kelce. This Bears defense is absolutely dismal. I think it's one of the worst defenses in the NFL by a significant margin at that as well. So I think the Chiefs are just going to absolutely run roughshod, or pass roughshod, I should say, because they're really not going to run the football that much. They never run the football that much. As far as the Bears are concerned and their skill players, I really like former Bijan Robinson backup, actually, Roschon Johnson. They both played together at the University of Texas. He's a Bears rookie, very impressive. Dante Foreman, inactive last week, inactive this week. It's going to be him and Khalil Herbert splitting backfield touches for Chicago. I think by the end of the season, or even midway through the season, Roschon Johnson is going to be the feature back in Chicago. Has a very versatile 3-down skill set. Very impressed with him. If you read my article, you know I really like one of his props today as well.
Boom, boom, and boom. AB, anything that you can play here based off of what Proppy just said?
Well, I'll tell you this. I have a personal family rule here. Once the feds get involved, I stop talking. All right. But I don't know what's going to go down in this game. We've seen the Bears. The federal agents are involved, raiding the defensive coordinator's house. There's something going on with this team and the facility. Look, all I know is federal agents, they have about a 95% conviction rate. They don't mess around. You usually try to strike a plea deal here, and I'm going to strike a deal and stay out of this game. It's going to be ugly. I don't want anything to do with it.
That's probably a pretty good thing to do. Counselor, what about you?
Yeah, I like the Chiefs here to probably cover. I mean, I think one thing I would consider, and I think Wenzel in the chat mentioned this, I think this is going to be like very much a schoolyard game, like old school for Justin Fields. I'd be looking at some of his props, particularly the rushing props. I do think DJ Moore is going to get a lot of targets too, maybe some easy passes. So maybe receptions and yards for him in a negative game script. But Justin Fields, I think, even up from a DFS standpoint, I think it's actually a sneaky spot to play him in this spot.
All right. Well, we are down to the final game, and we're about 10 minutes from the start of the 1 o'clock game, so perfect timing by me yet again. So this game is also ugly. This has the exact same spread as the Chiefs game does, but a completely different feel. The Cowboys, they called it a punch to the gut, Proppy, when Trayvon Diggs tore his ACL in practice this week. An absolute star is now sidelined for the rest of the year. The Cowboys have looked electric and dominant on defense as well. You love their wideout that is named. I was trying to make up something that rhymed, and that was horrible. So let's just go to you. You like a really good wideout for the Cowboys.
I do indeed. And yeah, that is a devastating blow to that Cowboys defense. I still think they're going to be a very good defense, but anytime you lose a player the caliber of Trayvon Diggs, certainly leading interceptions, has more interceptions than any player over the past 4 seasons. So hats off, or I'm very sorry for Cowboys fans. But yeah, I love CeeDee Lamb in this spot. I think this guy is ready to make that jump into that elite tier alongside of Justin Jefferson, alongside of Tyreek Hill. He has been absolutely phenomenal so far this season. And that's despite the Cowboys basically going into New York City over the course of 2 weeks and leaving up 70-10 against both New York teams. So we've seen CeeDee just fly over this total of over 70.5 receiving yards in both games. In my opinion, both these performances are way closer to his floor than his ceiling. I know we're playing a Cardinals team where they're a significant favorite again, but I think this Cardinals team is pretty game, and I think they can actually be competitive for at least as long as the New York teams were, because those games were out of hand by the half. So if CeeDee Lamb can get pushed, or if the Cardinals can push the Cowboys a little bit, in my opinion, he has just the same upside that Justin Jefferson and Tyreek Hill do. I will play him blindfolded under 74.5 yards, meaning if his prop is under 74.5 yards, I am going over regardless of the opponent. Absolutely love CeeDee Lamb. I think he's playing at such a high level right now. And again, it's a good matchup on paper, despite the Cowboys being big favorites. Love CeeDee Lamb.
I can tell you this, the Maestro also agrees with you. He has an official play. He has the Cardinals when it was 13. Right now it's still 12.5, essentially the same thing. AB, let me come to you. Do you agree with the Maestro?
Look, I'll tell you this. I agree with props on this one. CeeDee Lamb is going to go off. Also, the Cowboys, their defense, yes, that was a devastating blow. It's not going to affect them too terribly much this week. A little bit. I mean, obviously, him not being on the field is massive, but they're still going to do their thing. The Cowboys are going to run the hell out of the football in the second half. So take CeeDee Lamb, as props said, and then also take a look at their rushing props.
Boom. Counselor, what about you?
Agree with AB. I think Tony Pollard is in for a big game. I mean, I think this is one of those situations where Arizona scared teams in the first and second week, and I think the Cowboys are probably going to be prepared for that early, but also keep their foot on the gas late. I actually like the Cowboys team total to some degree, but I think they're going to cover this one. I just think even without Diggs, this defense is so frenetic. It's so good. I like Dobbs as a quarterback. He hasn't been blessed with the best matchups, and this certainly isn't one of them.
No doubt about it. This one, I made the mistake yesterday on a couple of games where I was overthinking it. You don't bet with hope, and sometimes it's right in front of you. The Cowboys are by far the better team in this matchup, just like the Chiefs. AB, go.
Yeah, real quick. I've seen Joshua Dobbs play since he was high school quarterback in the state of Georgia and then throughout his career at the University of Tennessee. Josh Dobbs does some really excellent things. This is not the type of defense that he excels against. He's going to have a tough day today.
All right. Very, very good. All right. Hopefully you were taking down your notes because we're not putting everything up on the recap screen. In fact, we got to get out of Dodge. See them. And you guys know I like to ask my cappers at the end of every single specialty show, especially these NFL shows, what's the number one thing they're most looking forward to today? We've already talked about a couple of things that were from last week. Use it for today or into the future. Counselor, if you don't mind, start us off.
Yeah. By the way, I'm still trying to workshop things to rhyme with CeeDee Lamb, and it's tough. So that's not on you. I was thinking like CeeDee Blam because he's going to hit his over. I don't know. We'll workshop it some more.
Greedy man. There you go.
There we go. So we're through 2 weeks, and I think we're getting to a point where, especially after this week, people are going to identify what they believe are trends. And I don't think they are through 2 weeks. They probably won't be through 3 weeks either. So just keep that in mind when the lines come out Monday or the look ahead lines that are already out now. Just keep in mind the competition that these teams have been up against, whether it be today or the last 2 weeks, and measure that versus what you think that team is. So it's just from a betting standpoint, it's really important to notice what the competition is and what competition lies ahead of these teams that you think are good teams.
Hashtag educate and entertain. Proppy, go.
Yeah, there are 2 rookie running backs playing in Detroit today in Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs. 2 of the best running back prospects to enter the NFL since probably Saquon Barkley. I cannot wait for this matchup. We're going to see Jahmyr Gibbs heavily featured since no David Montgomery for the Lions. We know we're going to see a lot of Bijan Robinson. I think these guys are going to be fired up for this matchup. These guys are probably going to be rivals for the next 5 to 7 years. I think they're both going to have very exciting individual performances, and I frankly cannot wait.
I thought you were like going to finish the sentence. AB, bring us home, big boy.
Yep. Pay attention to divisional games today. This is really when teams start to kind of identify themselves of who they are, and these games become more and more important as they go. So we've got teams that are now playing likely their second game in their respective divisions. So pay attention to those for sure. Yeah, keep an eye on the spreads. If it's 3.5, those are dangerous numbers.
Dangerous. Quickly, a programming reminder. Tonight, we are live at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. All of us right here, the crew, and Phil McKagan will be a part of that show as well. And tomorrow, another special start time, 2 Monday Night Football games. We'll be on the air at 6 p.m. Eastern time for about an hour and 15 minutes, breaking down both of those Monday night games. That's all the damage we can do. Hopefully, you all paid attention. You listened to the information, and you're ready to roll, because I certainly am. So with all that being said, there's only one thing left to do. And I believe you all know what that is. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these Sunday NFL tickets straight to the pay window. For my entire crew, Lobo, Counselor, Proppy, AB, Snake always lurking behind the scenes. I'm simply the coach, trying to keep this train on said track we grind for you so we can win with you. Is truly what we're all about right here. Good luck today. Early Edge.